asked to make this video about the new earth, about my own connection with it, what my story is, what I seem to be here to do. And what I wanted to do with this video is to share with you my journey of things that have come to me, information that has come to me, and just the journey in general of what understanding I have and where it's come from. Um, so I'm Ruth Cato. I am a shamanic practitioner. I am a guide. I am a therapist, and I work here on the beautiful Shropshire, Herefordshire borderlands on the England-Wales borders, guiding people back to themselves, guiding us back to the land, connecting us back up to the magic that is innate within us. And I work with a lot of initiation work. And the biggest role that I seem to be here to do at the moment is supporting with the birthing of the new earth. So this video is all about this, like, what is the new earth? What is all of this about? And what is my journey with it? So relax. Let's see how long this is. It will be a fair amount of detail if you want to go into that. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you. There's an edge of vulnerability. I'm listening to the guides as I speak. So if I suddenly stop talking, they'll be like, shh, nope, we're not meant to share that bit. Because a lot of what I'm going to be sharing comes, well, it all comes directly from source. It comes directly from galactic beings, from nature beings, from my guides, from past lives, like really source-based information. This is not learnt from other people. This comes straight from source. And sometimes it's like, yeah, the world doesn't need to hear this bit yet. So let's see what happens. So where am I going to start with? So there's lots and lots from before this point, but I'm being told to start with 5 years ago. So we're in 2025 now, and in 2020, there was a lot happening in the world. And there was a point in 2020 where I sat in the garden of my then home, and it was a really, really beautiful, peaceful, warm, sunny day. And I was meditating, relaxing, sitting in, connecting with the earth, connecting with my guides, and like really zoomed in, a connection with beings that were not of this planet, like a very galactic connection. And at this point, I had a really good understanding of protection, of ensuring, checking in with everything. And I really wanted to make sure that what was zooming in here was helpful, was useful, was for the greatest good. And the overwhelming, it wasn't just like, yep, this is okay, or yes, this is through love. It was like this enormous sense of, not only is this for the greatest good, this is for the absolute greatest good. This is for like the greatest good of the world and every single person in it. So it was strong. So I was being asked by these beings that were zooming in, I was being asked to allow them through. It was like I was a portal, I was a doorway for them to come through into the earth and to go all through the world. Like they were coming in, they were zooming in, and they were sent off to every corner of the earth. And as they were sent off to every corner of the earth, they were coming through and working through to help support this huge shift, this huge timeline shift. Now, at that time, I didn't really understand what that meant. I just felt and sensed and knew that this was potent. There was also like a blue tint to them. So later on, realizing that this is probably a Palladian energy. The Palladians and the Galactic Council, I'll talk a bit more later, I suspect, if I'm allowed to. And yeah, they and this energy that was coming through at that time they were saying to me that the world needs to catch up, the earth needs to catch up, that there are other places, other beings, other galaxies, other worlds that are vibrating. And I always think there's not enough language for this yet. So I'm just going to speak with words and see if they resonate. We are not yet vibrating. We haven't caught up with the level of vibration. And what practically that might mean, the thing they talk to me about a lot is, I get a sense of sharing from them a lot is, for example, food. They're like, you still have to farm food to eat it, to live. They're like, they keep thinking, they keep saying, for generations, years and years, you like, and they don't have time like we have time. They are going, we exist, we absorb all the energy we need. We don't need to prepare food and think about what we're eating and etc etc. So this is just one example of how, as human beings, as the earth, we have lagged behind these incredible technologies that other worlds, other planets, other galaxies, we're talking Palladians, Arcturians, and many, 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 many other types of being all over different galaxies. They want us to catch up, and they need us to catch up. I don't know the extent of this, but there's a need. If you don't catch up now, we as the Earth, our timeline, we're lagging behind and we're dragging them all back too. So we need to catch up with them. Okay. So now I just want to bring in, so that was this point 5 years ago where I first had this huge zoom in of helper energies, and they weren't coming to me, they were coming through me. They were coming through me and they were zooming out all over the world. They were like plugging in and they were like, right, let's switch this on now. Let's help support all of the people of the earth, all of the different lands of the earth, all of the oceans, all of this. Let's support the uprising. Let's support the shifts, the changes that are happening and going to happen. So this is 2020. Now look what's happened in this in-between time in these last 5 years, okay? So I'm just going to bring in a general thing now. So I work shamanically, so I'm interested in native, indigenous, and I'm English, I'm of the Celtic lands. So there is indigenous stories of this land too. And just in this, the prophecies of indigenous peoples, those that are still connected and have been connected to spirits, the land spirits, their guides, their helpers, their animal helpers, those that are connected in that way. So all over the world, indigenous peoples for many generations have been talking about this shift. They have been prophesizing about a shift of time, a time where our consciousness shifts and changes, where our worldly, earthly consciousness wakes up and rises, and where things very practically change as well, where we have huge shifts and changes in the way that the world is governed, in the way that we live as community, in the societies we lived in, the way that we feel, the way we think, and the way that we work together as humans, as collaborators, as lovers, as carers. Like, how does the world work? So many, if not all, indigenous cultures have had prophecies for this time. I mean, even look at the Old Testament, look at Revelations, like the times are there, the things that are happening in that book. It's a very like almost mythical set of stories in there that theologians have often struggled with and not worked with so much, because they go, well, this could mean anything. However, there are specific things that happen in that book, and I believe that this is an example of what is happening now. So we are at the end of an era. We are at the end of a huge, huge era. And this era is shifting us into the next era. This change, this transition point, we're going to shift into this next era. Astrologically, there is a huge thing happening at the moment, which happened 12,000 years ago in the astrology. 12,000 years ago, we were at the end of the last goddess era. We shifted from a goddess era into a masculine, God-centric, male-centric era. So we are right at the end of that era. At the end of any era, things turn ugly. At the end of any season, at the end of any cycle at all, things get difficult. If they didn't get difficult, things wouldn't die off, things wouldn't change, and therefore we wouldn't start something new. We would stay in the old. So there is a piece which I might share another time. I feel like it's not for now. There is a piece about that I've lived through, past life experience, very, very detailed, about the end of the last goddess era, which is hard to hear, potent, uncomfortable. And that is what shifted us into this era that we're now in and that we're just at the end of. This era, this masculine era, this forward-thinking, goal-centric era, has ended in a time of patriarchy. That has been like the ugly end, the last bit of it. And now what are we shifting into? This is the big question. We're shifting into this new era. We could call it the new earth. We could call it anything that you want to call it. Like, what does it feel like to you? What does it feel like? And we're in this transition point. Remember, transitions are difficult, they're uncomfortable. And here's the big question that I'm fascinated in. Why were you born now? Why did your soul choose to come back and to be alive in this era through this point? Your soul chose to come in now. So why? Those of us that are here now have a role to play in this transition point. Our ancestors in front of us in the future are going to look back down the line, are going to look back through the lineage, and they are going to say, who was that person? They're going to want to know, who were you who lived through this huge monumental shift and change in the world? So you are here to do something. You are here to do something. Just let that sink in. Let yourself feel that. Is there frustration there? I've had a lot of people over the last, especially the last 3 months, really come to me with real frustration, real sense of urgency around what is my purpose? What am I here to do in the world? And you know, there's urgency there because Aries is about to step in. Tomorrow is the shift into our springtime in the Northern Hemisphere. It's the equinox point, and it's the astrological new year. So this is the point where we shift into Aries, into the let's do this. And let's do this time round is not just a beginning of a year. This is the beginning of a whole new cycle. And we are really being asked to up our game here. So there's real urgency here. There's real urgency for your part. What part are you playing in the world? Okay, so I want to bring in, my attention is being drawn to the Galactic Council now. And this is a part that I was waiting to see if I was allowed or even should talk about. But they're pretty clear that it's being outlined right now. So you might have heard of the Galactic Council. And can I just say, I thought, so when I started doing this work, I thought this piece, like galactic stuff, Palladians, la la, la, I thought it was all bonkers. I was really interested in nature cycles, the body cycles, this very earthy of this place, of this middle realm thing. And over time, my guides, my intuition, the land, everything was like, yeah, this is real. Like, here's this, and here's this, and here's this. And not only is it real, it's your job to go out there and talk about it, do it, make these changes. And most importantly, bring in the change that the world needs right now. So, yeah, for anyone that's going, well, this is a little bit out there, I hear you. I know what that feels like. And really encourage us to sense like what feels real. Really listen to our hearts. And this year, this 2025 to 2026 shift is about listening to our hearts rather than our heads. It's like an embodied thing. What does it feel like? And if it feels meaty, true, like if it brings emotion, if it brings tingles, if it brings a feeling of expansion, or even if it brings like a righteous fear, worry, like but worry in a way rather than a down and back way. If it brings us up and out, there's truth in it, and we're going to have to learn to listen to it if you choose to. So, Galactic Council. My goodness, this was a huge piece in the story. So I moved to this incredible place, this house that I now work from, and this amazing valley that it nestles in 3 years ago, and and this house is a big house. It's an old house, sort of newly built around some edges, but with old bones, and it's very rural. It's very, very my thing here. It has this incredible energy to it. The first night that I spent here on my own, my family weren't here, I had no clients with me. I sat in this house and I actually sat in my bed with the door open to the hallway. And just like when spirit is wandering around, like human spirit, I got this sense of it's very busy in here all of a sudden. And I looked out of my doorway, and it was very obvious through the hallway that there was an awful lot of movement. There was an awful lot of toing and froing. And just sat there reading my book, and I put up my protection. I ask everyone to leave. I say, this is my space. I do all the things that I do. And they all looked at me like, yes, yes, little human, don't you worry. Basically, I had almost no say in what was going on around the house that night. And as I sat there, I tuned in, and it was all that I could get in my mind, all the words that I could find that felt true for it, was that this was a council meeting. I was like, why is there a council meeting going on in my house? This is bonkers. What is going on? But it was like, this feels like a council meeting. There are people from this place coming to represent this. There are people from this place coming to represent this. People from this place to represent. You know, there was representatives, and they were all congregating here. The next morning, I was still on my own. I came downstairs, and it was so busy downstairs. And I was asked super clearly, hello, little human, please can you, just like I might facilitate a retreat or facilitate a circle or organize people, I was being asked to organize, just manage the flow of people. It was like, well, it wasn't people, it was spirit energy. To manage the flow of energy, like where can they congregate? The place they were trying to congregate in the house, it wasn't working. There were walls in the way. It was like, it was a bit clunky. So I opened the back door and I said, out here, I've got a central fire pit in the grass out there. And they all filed out and congregated around the central fire pit outside. I was told to stand back. I stood just in the doorway, watched, waited, listened, felt. And although I wasn't privy to the actual words of what was going on, there was a sense of something. Um, things were being decided. Things were being decided that were a change to what had been planned. It was like this person was bringing this message in, this person was bringing this message in, and therefore, based on what has been happening, and therefore, based on, well, let's just bring it to the humans for now, because we weren't just talking about Earth, we were talking about people from all different places all around the universe, the galaxies, everywhere. There was some conversation around the humans have done just enough now, as in raising of consciousness, as in awareness of heart-centered, that love is at the center of everything. The humans have done just enough now to shift this. So where something was going to happen, I was told, in 30 years' time, they can happen sooner. And sooner is now. So this meeting happened, I'd say, 3 years ago, maybe 2 and a bit years ago. And now is the point they were referring to. Now is the point that everything can change. So at the end of their meeting, the one guide, he tells me he's an Arcturian guide. And I'm not meant to tell you that bit, okay. And he said, it was like the equivalent of raising a flag or raising a banner. He raised a banner at the end of this meeting, at the end of this discussion, and said, and so it is. And now this has changed. And I was like, what is this? What has changed? What is this? But over the last few years, it's really begun to sink in as I've noticed, keep listening, keep checking in, and different things have been happening that, this is about the timeline split. This is about a new earth. This is about us. If you can feel it, I can feel it as I'm speaking it, like raising in my body. Like this is about human beings having the opportunity now. And opportunity isn't quite the right word. It's like, go, do it, be it. Or you are left behind on the old timeline. We're going forward into newness. So what is newness? And this is going to change all the time, but where I'm at with it now, because we're learning new things, we're like, what does this even mean? What does this look like? We're learning it as we go. So what does it mean right now? So I'm seeing it as these two paths, these two routes. And this new route, this new earth, we have to reorient ourselves. Like that is now forward. We were here. And this is now forward. So we have to shift our bodies, our life, everything to reorient to what is now true. And what this path is about, I'll tell you energetically, it looks like an apricot colour. It's like a golden apricot light that we are stepping towards and into. And that has a beautiful feeling to it. And what practically this new earth looks like is I've always shown the ancient grandmothers for the new earth. They are really present with me. And that's a whole nother part of the story, maybe for another time, how the ancient grandmothers support this shift and this work. But if you imagine a council of grandmothers instead of a council of, let's say, men that we don't know, ruling and giving us rules and infrastructure to our world. If you imagine a council of grandmothers who know you, who love you, and who love every young person, every being, every soul they love, and everything that they are deciding, and their rule is, rule of law. This is a rule of law. They are ruling through, guiding us through life, through love. It can be a very fierce love. But can you imagine any all-loving, all-wise grandmothers who choose war or who choose to send their grandchildren to war? It's just not going to happen. The grandmothers are here energetically, and we are being asked to step up into the role of actual physical grandmothers, a feminine holding of the world, a feminine leadership of the world. So this new timeline shift is going to, the other thing it feels like is, I was listening to some people earlier in the sauna, in the public sauna that I go to, and they were talking about politics. And something had shifted in the last day or so from within me, and this is the system we have to fit into. Like, it's just real, so we have to fit into this. We have to follow those laws. We have to do those things. And today, when I heard them talk about politics, it just felt like it's not even a thing. Like, it's not a structure that's holding us. The structure that is now holding us is within my heart. It is, who am I? Let's create this ourselves, because we are not being supported through love. Let's create support through love. What does that look like for you? So we're stepping into a higher frequency. We're stepping into a place of, when things are hard, like, it doesn't mean that things don't get hard. We're stepping into a place of, when things are hard, realizing and then actively choosing to step back into joy, to go, oh, this is happening around me. Can I breathe? Can I ground? Oh, and every bit of light, every bit of joy, every bit of peace, like, it's right there. I can just slot into it. And this practice is so important as we transition into the new earth. That doesn't mean, by the way, that we don't need to rant and rage and stomp and dance to shift and change any energies, because remember, we're in a transition point, and transitions need a lot of support as we go through them. So I'm just waiting to see now, is there any other pieces of the story? I've got a few notes over here. Does that want to be shared? No. A little bit there. Yeah, so the last bit that I'll just talk on is, what do you need right now as we shift and as we go through this transition? Do you need grounding? I'm being shown this year, I'm doing a body of work online with serpent medicine, because the snake is something that I've always worked with. It's one of my main power animals. It's right there beneath me all the time. And snake medicine, serpent medicine, it's the year of the snake. Like, snake medicine is about transformation, and it's an embodied, like, our bodies, or the snake's body is right there on the earth. And feeling the support of the earth, but bringing lots of movement into your body to help support this transition point, to help shed the old and birth the new. So serpent medicine is really powerful for this transition right now. I think there'll be a link below to join the mailing list. If you're interested in doing that, it's going to start next month, and you can sign up and do that from anywhere in the world. And we also have, the main supporter for this work is our Wednesday night Zoom calls. So GMT 8 p.m, 2000 hours GMT, for an hour each Wednesday. I guide us through channeled work with the ancient grandmothers. And the ancient grandmothers are here showing us in ritual just the most beautiful work, honestly. And it's there to totally support us through this change of timeline. I love that piece of work. So that's Birthing the New Earth. That should be below in the notes as well. And then one of the biggies is if you heard that, what are you here to do question, if you've been feeling that really bubbling up, I have a really big piece of work, again, starting in April, starting next month. It's a 6-month online piece of work called Into the Belly. And we're going into the belly of Mother Earth to uncover your gifts. We're not pulling them in. We don't need to manifest anything. They're already right there. So we're going into them. unearthing them, uncovering them, and shedding your human belief systems and patterning that we've been given this lifetime and maybe previous lifetimes, so that this gift, your true embodied gift, your true embodied way of working, can come to life. So that's Into the Belly. So there's some information. There's loads more. Maybe I'll share other bits with you, things that I might share with you in the future. There's a piece on the Anunnaki. If anyone has ever heard of the Anunnaki, do you remember all those stories of the giant gods that walked the earth, let's say, and helped build the pyramids, for example? They had lots of ancient, incredible technology. I've got a lot to say on them because they have visited me and worked with me, and I've worked with them quite intensively. So there's them that I could share with you about in the future. What other bits could I share about? Oh, the revolutionary times, the French Revolution, the shifts and changes in society and culture. There's loads and loads of things that I've got a lot of personal experience with. So I'll share those with you in the future. But for now, I will end here and send you huge, huge eclipse, equinox, Kazemi energy of this week. Like, plant your seeds for a beautiful, beautiful future. Thank you so much for being here.